Hi, welcome to another episode of Time Out with Gabii. With me here is the drag king himself, Stretcher Hymen, and the burlesque performer, Strawberry Runs Through.
Yay!
Welcome
You
to my
got
show.
it!
How you feeling today?
Good. I'm tired, but
I
I'm good.
know it was an amazing night yesterday. Like you went off on everybody. You literally went to school the children.
For everybody out there, I guess I did Queen for the first time. Well, I would say
Yeah.
the first time, like I definitely dabbled in. I did Mary, like I impersonated Sister Mary Clarence once, when she was leaving for her final goodbye of Edmonton, and then
Yeah.
I feel like there was another time I did drag queen, but I just don't remember. I black it out
But
sometimes.
you really have to be honest. Like that
yeah.
was amazing.
Yeah.
So let's dive right into you because now you have two personalities. You have the stretcher and you have the strawberry. So, what would you say your childhood was like? Which did you tap more into, the stretcher or strawberry or both?
Um,
that
I was like two personalities. I think I have like 13 at this point.
we know of.
yeah, considering the Grinch and Mr. Cauliflower. And then,
Okay, we're
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
go
yeah.
into that. We're gonna go into
Yeah.
that.
No, I don't know, it wasn't like a great childhood, but it also wasn't the worst of the worst. I'm estranged now from my family. They don't know that I do drag. I
Really?
think they have an idea that I do burlesque because they were still around when I had started that in 2018. But growing up, I used to like pray that I would wake up a boy and like would hope that God could do some miracle that I would become the gender that I wanted to become.
Yeah.
So I think once I discovered Stretcher and like the ability to actually do male impersonations or dress like a guy, there was a lot of like gender euphoria from that for me. And then as for Strawberry, like I was always intrigued by burlesque as a kid growing up, but because I was in like a very Christian indoctrinated household,
Hmm.
I didn't think it was a possibility for me to do that as an art form. And it wasn't until I separated myself from my family that I was able to actually start like tapping into that and feeling comfortable and not feeling like guilty.
Yeah.
Because there's like a lot of kids who end up being indoctrinated in the Christian religion and stuff like that. There's a lot of guilt with any kind of behavior that's deemed as like a
Not
sin.
Christian. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think like it took a really long time for me to realize that I could do the things I wanted to do, and I wasn't gonna be like banished to some like weird,
Yeah.
like,
I mean, it's also the same for me, right? Because I moved out of my family and I started doing drag. So I can relate. I think most queer people literally grow up faster by themselves. But I'm proud, I'm great. Like you mentioned, you have multiple personalities. So when was the breaking point that you wanted to do burlesque? Because I guess that's what you started with, right?
yeah. So I started with burlesque. One of the last like Pride parades in Edmonton in 2017. I'd gone to it with a friend, and I was still very like closeted and sort of like in denial that I was a queer person.
Straight woman.
I was like convinced. I was convinced, but then yeah, I went and walked with him in the parade, and then I saw a bunch of people in these like really colorful costumes. Ruby Hymen was in one of
Oh,
them. She had
nice.
made them even, and I was like, wow, like I really want to wear that. Like that looks like a lot of fun. And then sure enough, there was a girl from high school who was actually also in those costumes
Really?
and posted on Facebook. And then I messaged her and was like, hey, like how do I get involved? How can I potentially do or audition for this like
Who's the person?
their name is Miss Sincerity.
Okay.
They still dabble in burlesque. They're with the Raspberries troupe. And then yeah, we had met in grade 11 when I was in drama with them. It was like the only year I did
Drama.
drama or theater or anything
That
theater
was
related.
okay.
Yeah, so I was really lucky that it just so happened that they were in the troupe and joined the joined the troupe, which originally was called Class and Sass Productions, and then eventually changed its name to Raspberries. And they worked out of Evo, so they also rehearsed at
Oh,
Evolution Winter Lounge. So that's how I became exposed to the gay bar in Edmonton, and also Ruby Hymen, who was in the troupe.
oh,
And
nice.
through Ruby Hymen is how I ended up doing Drag
Drag.
King, which Stretcher Hymen. So that's a good thing. That's where I
Oh
get
my
the name
god.
from.
So first, from Strawberry,
Hmm.
you became Stretcher.
Well, I mean, it was more so, yeah, I guess so, because I was doing this like my first burlesque solo, and it was to the song by Jane County called
Hmm.
Fuck Off. And it's,
Better fuck off.
yeah, well, the lyrics are, if you don't want to fuck me, baby, 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 fuck
Fuck off.
off. So it's like, it's a very it's very drag, and the Raspberries troupe and like Class and Sass always lip synced, so they like took and pulled a lot of inspiration from drag as itself.
Okay.
Debatably, like, it was like heels based drag classes or heels based performances. Like the art of like burlesque and tease wasn't always there. Like for some of the numbers it was, and then for the other numbers it was very like heels drag, like
Yeah.
dance combined, right? Theater, even community theater kind of based stuff. So I did this routine, and I look back now and I'm like, that was just drag. Like, I was just doing
Yeah.
drag queen, but like I saw it as burlesque. And
Relax, yeah.
I remember doing it in front of the troupe as like a for our tech rehearsal, and then I turned and looked at like the side stage, and Ruby was standing there, and she was like, "Oh, I'm gagged," and I was like, "Oh, really? Like you like it?" And she's like, "You need to do drag," and I was like dress like a girl?" And she was like, "No, you
As
dress
a
like a guy," and I
guy.
was like, "Oh, I didn't know I could do that." And then like slowly started going to shows, and I was a backup dancer for Pheromone Kills for
Oh,
a few of her
nice.
like performances. She put me in a Sunday review, so it was like between 2018 and 2021 when I came out as Stretcher Hymen, like it was this slow growing, like, I got
Gaining
to see,
experience.
yeah, a slow growing experience into either doing male impersonations, going out to drag shows, getting to know the community a bit better. So,
Now I'm trying to connect the dots too, because I
yeah.
know Simone is in the House of Hymens.
Yeah, and then well she's our current reigning
Superstar, yeah.
yeah, Anne's finalist.
We had quite a history because when I worked at the bar, when
Yeah.
I worked at the bar and she walked in out of drag, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the next superstar," whatever she said that at the time. I'm like, okay, I need to go confirm, right? This happened twice, and the second time, someone went up for me, and I was like, wait, honey, like, who are you?
Well, it's so hard to know people in and out of drag. So I kind of took on just using the name Stretcher so that people would recognize me out of drag, because I look so different
Yeah,
from when I'm in drag and out of drag. Especially when I had like long hair and I still was like, I don't know, I was giving like butch lesbian vibes back then for sure. So yeah, I started just using the name Stretcher all the time.
and someone literally tried to go off on me, but I was like, honey, like, you gotta take a step back and like realize that when I worked there at the time, like, to just throw you out there to work, right? They don't give you a list of who comes in free,
Yeah.
like the Miss Evil and Miss Evil, right? Because I knew I'm Gemma at the time, so I could let Gemma in. The same thing happened with Audrina, right?
Oh, Adrena looks very different out of drag.
But like, well, Adrina was calm about it. Like, Adrina like explained like this is who I am, right? And
Yes.
that's why I love her so much. Before everyone tried to go off, I was like, oh, honey, you gotta relax. But now, like, how did you get into the House of Hyman?
Well, it was basically from that first moment where Ruby was like, "You should do Drag King."
Oh, nice.
Like, her and Pheromone, this was in 2019, like kept pushing for me to do King, and I was really busy because I was in school
Oh,
and I was working, and so I had a lot on my
and doing
plate.
drag. Yeah, that's a
Yeah, and I
lot.
was like teaching dance and working as a paramedic. Like I just had so much on my plate, so I wasn't really like able to put my whole pussy into it, and I was already dedicated to like this burlesque troupe. And
Yeah.
then by the end of 2019, I was like, I had even done this one character for the show that we used to do, which was like we did like biannually shows, so twice a year we'd have two different productions put on.
Okay.
And for that one, I was like a drag character named Papa Berry. So I was a
Oh,
dude, and it was like a twist on Strawberry, right? And I had so much fun with the character. Like it was like it really started coming into like my own with like deciding how I would want to behave on stage. And I was a country guy. It was stupid. It
bald.
was, yeah, like it was like, and to this day, I still wear some of the costumes that I made for that character originally, just because, yeah, like I recycle so much of my drag. And then Ruby adopted me originally through the name as Ripper Hymen, and December of 2019. January 2020, I did my first show as Ripper at On the Rocks with No Vagina, who's now out in the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like a Michael Jackson and a Justin Timberlake
Oh,
impersonation. So I did like one, two,
number, yeah.
yeah, both those numbers. Um, and then I got a lot of flack for my name in that first show, just because it's not,
Common.
well, it's just not really appropriate and it's not consensual in some
Yeah.
ways. And that's like up to me as an artist to decide if I want to continue forward with like literally the rest of my like I didn't realize how much I'd like how deep I'd get into the community, but like I'm kind of glad I changed my name because I one show, one number, I was or two numbers, I was already getting like people are like, "Oh, I don't know if I could say the name on stage when I
Yeah.
introduce you." And I'm like, that to me is just already a red flag, so I should change my name.
But why would
So,
they have difficulties doing that?
well,
If it's your name.
it is my name and it's up to me to decide, but I ended up changing it to Stretcher because of like I was a paramedic, so
Oh,
it's kind of a
yeah,
nod to my paramedic days. And then it's also a nod to like butt play and like stretching and like being
true.
flexible even or stuff like that. So I think I enjoy it better as a name overall and changed my name, dropped out of the troupe, and then I didn't do dance for like a year.
Oh, so how are you able to bounce back? Because you're really amazing on stage.
Yeah, I think COVID had a really hard impact on me because I was working as a paramedic
Oh my goodness.
and I was in school, so it was really difficult doing online education.
Yeah.
I'm a very social person, so I felt extremely lonely. I had to like move out of a house like on like really quickly because the basement had flooded twice on me in my room,
Oh
and
my
there
goodness.
was like issues with that. So I was just going through a lot, and so I think I didn't feel like artistically creative. I was also when I dropped out of Raspberries, I wasn't really connected as well with the drag community or anybody outside of Raspberries. So I
Hmm.
felt really like isolated. And then it was only because of Ruby, that I ended up sort of coming
Coming
back
back.
into it. At one point, I was like, oh, maybe I should just delete my like Instagram even. Like
Oh
I
my
was just pretty
goodness.
like, I had like 100 followers. It wasn't
Yeah.
anything crazy. And then
Good thing you didn't do that.
yeah. Oh no, I'm really happy I didn't, honestly. Yeah, and then I started doing burlesque shows at Spotlight Cabaret a bunch. They were
Hmm.
really like obviously it's a venue that has had like a lot of issues with the community over the years. That being said, like they definitely gave me a space as a brand new solo artist to like,
Show
expand
your
my
talent,
wings.
yeah.
Yeah, and just like get better and better and better over the years. And then I also got put in like a couple court shows.
Nice.
And so, thankfully for the court and just being able to give opportunities to new artists. And then Sister Mary and Ruby put me in a Christmas show. I applied for LaDonna's Pageantinta. And then it just sort of like went from there.
Oh, great. Did you win?
I did win. Actually, yeah,
Really?
I did. It was a country
Congrats.
themed one.
Oh my
Yeah.
god,
Okay,
that's
and that
cheated.
first burlesque solo that I was talking about, that I was like called "fuck off," I
Yeah.
did that as my drag.
Performance. Oh my
Yeah, so I
god.
finally took it and did it in drag king version. I was so silly. There was no video of it, which is really sad. But
Was it 2020?
in 2022,
Oh my god. What
yeah.
happened?
Well, Doe wasn't filming, and I didn't think to ask anybody to film
Someone.
it.
That's crazy because like I feel like my best performance wasn't even filmed yet. You
Oh, I swear to God, your best performances never get filmed. Like I did one for like my very first time doing the Grinch. I was like, hands down, a handful of people were like, that was one of the best performances I've ever seen you do. I'm like, wow, I can't wait to see the videos. Nobody took a video. I was like, are you kidding me? They don't.
That's the one problem I have with the community, right? Some drag performers, especially, like, honey, like,
Oh,
I know you have friends that you always want to make a video of, but if you're performing and I post you on my story, that way you can get a video, right? And that way my audience can literally see you and like
mm,
your content, right? Unlike you just going to the stage and like folding your arms, watching, cheering, doing everything and not taking a video, honey. Yes, I know. Like, what is the essence of you being there to come support,
Well,
right?
I'm like of two branches because I'm like I have an iPhone 8 with a button on it still, so the video quality that I would take is pretty low, and I'm
True.
never really that like I mean yes it's like part of me is like wow I really wish somebody filmed that, but at the end of the day it's not like I'm asking people to
To
come out
do
and
that
do
film,
this.
yeah, yeah,
Like
true.
I think it's really important to also just like make contact with
Yeah,
the audience and like you have a reciprocation with them in other ways other than just filming.
true,
So it's not like it's not the end all be all. And I would rather somebody
true.
not sit there on their phone and be distracted by filming, you know, even. But for me, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of silly, and I always forget people like to ask people to
To
be like,
film.
could you film this? I have a feeling it's gonna be a good number, you
Yeah,
know.
true.
So no, I'm kind
It's
of.
crazy, and like they try to take it from the angle, and it's like, oh my goodness, like I just killed this. You don't know when your next show is coming up. You don't know because every performance or every show has a theme, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
can't do like what's it called, a demonic theme in an angel theme,
Mm.
right? So yeah, it is what it is. So how did you come up? Do you have to? Do they have the stretcher high balls or fireballs or what's it called?
Oh my god. No, like the fire. A stretcher highball would be really funny, and if you called it stretcher fire, like higher fireball, like as in the highball. Yeah, that just came out of so like the day I did Mr. Worldwide or
Yeah,
Pitbull was to open for Cornbread, which
I
is
remember.
the
Yeah,
first Drag Race girl that I opened
for
for.
oh my god,
Which
really?
yeah, it was really fun.
How was that?
Um,
Oh, it was fun. Okay.
yeah, it was really fun, honestly. And like I think it was like Monday night before the Friday, and I was like, wow, I really don't know what to do. I was gonna do a Joe Exotic number, but then I was like finding, well, he's like super racist. So I was like, oh, like I could make fun of him and it could be
Right.
like a like satire kind of piece, but I also didn't want to like I don't know. I wasn't like fully sure if I could feel like comfortable doing him, knowing how like
You will turn up.
insane,
Yeah.
crazy, like racist guy he was. So I was just like struggling with that. And I got on video call with like Margaret Snatcher and Audrina. And I was like, guys, what do I
Do
do?
you right?
And
Because this
then
is a big one.
well, yeah, and then Marge and Audrina were like, "Why don't you do Pitbull?" And I was like, "Oh, I can't do Pitbull. Like, I don't know." And then I started listening to the music, and I was like, "You know what?
I would do it.
He's Mr. Worldwide. He's like he's all around the world. Like, he's
Yeah.
got some of the best fucking music out there. Like, he's
A
literally like a
legend.
household name. You search up Pitbull on it, like on
It's
Google,
YouTube.
and
Yeah.
he shows up and not the dog. You know, like
Right. Exactly.
yeah. So I was like, why didn't I think about this before? And Audrina always bugs me. She's like, well, I didn't get credit for giving you that idea. And I was like,
Oh.
oh, it's so funny. But
Shady.
yeah, she always is. She always is with me. But yeah, and then I like had to learn to do a little bald cap moment. But thankfully, like Secretia Minora had done a bald cap earlier that
Oh,
week. So
nice.
I just like DM'd her. I was like, girl, what'd you do? Like, tell me.
That was hot. Trust me. Like, did he take off a wig?
Well, what I did is I just to hide the bald cap at the beginning because it starts with Kesha and Timber.
Yeah.
I just had like a silly little wig on and a
And
I,
he just took it off, and the crowd went crazy.
yeah, they lost
I
it.
remember I worked that night, and like I was like, "Oh my goodness, you were so amazing!" And what's up with licking the floor?
Yeah.
I
So
mean, I know Eva stage is clean, but honey,
okay, in all fairness, I did not get sick after both times I did it,
really?
so I feel good about that. I was quite anxious the second time because the first time what happened is I was doing my a mix called Mr. Cauliflower, where
Where you spill the mayo?
well it's ranch
Oh, ranch.
because
Okay,
I Mr. Cauliflower gets hired as a chicken wing. Oh, I got you a gig,
you
you know.
right?
He's
Yeah,
like, you got the chicken wing gig. Like you beat out broccoli, you know, you beat
right.
out carrots. You're a fucking new veggie. Like you're really coming up and
Oh
at
my
it. And
goodness.
so, anyways, I to people like ranch with their chicken wings. And so I went to like pour it on my cauliflower head, and then when I pulled the tarp to the side, the cauliflower head like rolled onto the Evo floor, and I was like, well,
Okay, clean the mess.
and then so the first part I did is I took my fingers and like licked it, and people went crazy, and
Crazy.
it was for Bo Creep's All Teas All Shade show.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That was like the crowd went mad. I was like, hats off to you. Like it's I feel like before personally, if I go for a performance, right, I have all things planned out. Then you go
Mm-hmm.
on stage and then you just do this little change. Because I do you include that in your
No, it was just
rehearsal?
an accident that it fell off. So like, and then I like at one point I was tired because I was dancing hard. And I was like, what if I just went to the floor and licked it? And there's like, and then I really like, I didn't like fully lick the floor, but I just kind of got the ranch on it. So then what happened is at the next All Tease All Shade, Bo Creep was like talking about it on the mic. So I went up on stage and pretended to lick the floor again. And then during my number, I was
You
doing a split, and I was like, "Well, I guess I'm close to the floor."
floor.
Like, and people just went crazy because I think a lot of Bo Creep's audiences are like regulars or people who come back to see his
Yeah,
productions because they're
yeah.
so incredible. So I was like, "Well, they know the story already." So,
That's true from the last one.
and then what
Yeah.
happened is at the end we did the curtain call, and I went up and I licked the floor again. And then Holly Bunsen came up behind me and licked
I
my
saw, yeah,
ass, and I was like, "Oh my god!" It was just
that
like,
was so amazing.
I just feel like, yeah, whenever you're on stage, you have to be able to like adapt or like
Yeah.
find a way to like connect with the audience. And yeah, maybe it's not the best thing for my health, and I probably shouldn't do it because I
Oh
don't
my
want to like
goodness.
foot warts
Do
in
you
my
only
mouth
do
or
it at
something.
Evo?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I've only done it at Evo.
Well, that's great. I mean, like, because you know your audience, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's one of
um,
those things.
let's talk about Prince. Your
Yeah.
Prince character. You really have a lot of characters.
I was like, I think I have a thing for impersonations, but it's so interesting because as a drag king, like I feel sometimes it's not that it's like limited, but like, we all want to like pop our pussy to Ariana Grande
Yeah,
or Lady Gaga. But
exactly.
when it comes to male artists, like,
Yeah,
well, Pitbull is one of the guys who has a really like high energy kind of styled music, but like The Weeknd doesn't really have that like
strength. Yeah,
boom, boom, kind of energy that Ariana Grande or Lady Gaga has, right? Unless you go back to like 80s rock, or
yeah,
90s rock even, or alternative music, punk music. But like, so what happens is I kind of like I lean towards like maybe older male artists
mm-hmm.
like Prince and Michael Jackson and
Because
stuff
the
like
way
that.
really the male artists people listen to. Because I don't even remember. I don't know how many male artists I listen to these days.
I know most of the actually when I am out of drag or out of burlesque, I listen to really sad singer songwriter female artists.
Sports, I watch females.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So I'm like, the music I like to listen to in the day to day is not the same kind of shit that I like to like go on.
stay to
I mean, yes and
perform.
no, yes and no. I do love like a lot of the artists, but that I perform, and yeah, that like I guess Silk Sonic and like Bruno Mars is another example of another kind of artist that I'm like heavily inspired by because it's good
Yeah,
music,
yeah,
like it's there's depth to the music, it has a good bass line, like it has a good beat, and I think Prince is that as well, like just an amazing musician.
yeah.
So
Performer as well.
yeah, and so I think like that's where I kind of lean towards when I'm deciding to do, you know, maybe an impersonation or yeah.
Your face never declines. I would say that whenever you go for print, it never declines. And oh my god, the Grinch. Can you talk about how that came about? Like, how did you figure out that, oh, I could do the Grinch? You know?
Okay, so I scroll on Instagram a lot and I saw this one post that was like I can't remember, it was like the late stage capitalism was in the middle, I think, and I can't remember the other, like it's a Venn diagram of like the other bubbles, but on each corner was um Jesus,
Hmm.
Grinch, and Father Christmas. And so I was like, or like Santa Claus. And I was like, okay, like which of these like
Do you
characters are
fall in
you
there?
during Christmas? And the center is late stage capitalism. And then I was laughing and I was like, because I got put in Ammonia's Buck Show, which was a Christmas themed punk show.
Hmm.
And I was like, yeah, I guess I don't know which character I should do. And then a couple of people DM'd me or whatever. I think it was just some of my close friends, and they were like, "Oh, definitely the Grinch." And I said, "I guess so."
Yeah.
So I think it might have been again. I'm really, I the way I plan my outfits and everything last minute, like
And
last
it turns
minute,
out great.
days before. Like me and Audrina always have an ongoing joke of like how last minute we are with all the projects and all the drag projects we end up doing together. And again, it was like the Monday before the Wednesday, and I went to Theater Garage, and I found out that you can use like a cat nose prosthetic.
Oh, and just
Um,
paint it green?
yeah, paint it green, and you apply it with like spirit gum or liquid latex. And I messaged Ammonia as well, who like gave me the
Tips,
411
yeah.
on like, yeah. And of course, I had to wrangle and Audrina help me style a wig last minute,
Oh,
but it
nice.
was like the cheapest $15 wig um from Theater Garage, and you would literally brush it, and it would all the hairs would
Yeah.
just come out. So she couldn't even brush it. She just had to like tease it and backcomb it into what it is, and it became a joke as like the most heinous wig in like
The
the
city.
community. And then I wore it for all of Next Fest because I basically had created a play around like the character, well, not like necessarily around the Grinch, but around the Scooby-Doo gang and then villains. And then I took like the idea of like snatching or taking a wig, like what's missing in the community. And then um so I wore this ugly wig because I was the wig snatcher.
Yeah.
Like I was the one who took the wig, so I might as well have a really bad wig to be like, well, I had to get a new one.
True. Now it adds up to. Was that your idea? Like, was that your show?
Mm, So at Christmas, me, Audrina, a boy actually, and Gemma and I were here, and we were talking about we were watching The Grinch and The Nightmare Before Christmas, and we talked about and wrote out. I
Oh,
wrote on my
nice.
notes app when we were all talking about it, about a play between like where the Nightmare Before Christmas world and like the Grinch collided.
Oh.
So then we pitched it to Next Fest. Like Gemma and I pitched it to them, and the executive director Ellen was like, I don't know how I feel about doing like a full Christmas play in the middle of June.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fair, that's fair. And then so Gemma was like, what about we use the Scooby Doo gang? And I was like, yeah. And then what we could do is we can
Oh.
add in villains. So we kind of everybody who had already like because I just sent out like a Google form for people to fill out. So whoever we had already picked the characters in response to like
The Google Doc?
the Google Doc that was related to the like Nightmare Before Christmas and the Grinch. So I took those characters and we kind of reassigned them to the Scooby Doo characters, and then we took the ones who like and put them in as villains as
Yeah.
well. So that was kind of the basis, and then yeah, we kind of came up with the idea of having like a wig snatched, and then I've never written a play before, but then I just sat down like over 3 sessions and wrote the whole thing.
Your grade 11
My grade 11
parent.
play experience where I was literally a backup. Like, you know what I mean? Not even a backup. I was like a background character. I had one line.
Oh my goodness. And now you're this main character, the
Yeah.
villain.
The villain, yeah. So I think when I did Ammonia's Buck Show and I had tapped into the Grinch and I just really enjoyed like the act of impersonation. So when I wanted to do it again. Yeah, like it was a good opportunity to do it again. And I had there's I'm doing it again in August.
Oh, great. I was going to
Yeah.
ask since you're an
Yeah.
upcoming one, because
I
I
mean,
need to
I'll
be
probably be in
there.
it at Christmas, like,
Yeah, and it was a
Yeah.
great venue as well. It was packed. You did it for 3 days or 2 days.
3 days. We got 3 showcases this year. Gemma had done it previously where they just had one showcase. And this year, Next Fest decided to expand and allow every group that they picked to have 3 showcases, which was
Oh,
really good for
nice.
us because, like, the first one was fairly quiet. And then the Wednesday night got quite busy, and the Saturday was the busiest, I think. And
Yeah.
it was so fun because, like, people who would never normally see drag and had
Came.
came for their first experience with drag artists, and it was really like it really pushed the people in the play to learn to do lines and characters and like push themselves as artists. And I watched so many people in the group like grow as artists and like tap into like just to kind of almost like prove that drag is
Diverse,
more
yeah.
diverse and more than just like
Shaking
standing
your ass,
there and
yeah.
lip syncing or shaking your ass or whatever, right? Like it's almost like when we watch these drag race queens come in and do like live theater at like the Jubilee, or sing live at
Yeah.
Union Hall or
We could
something.
also act.
Act, like, play instruments like Thorgy. Like there's so many ways to express yourself in doing drag, and I'm like, yeah, I'm constantly like trying to
A link to is that
tap into that, because I think I want, it's just fun.
you never know where it's gonna take you.
Yo, you never know. Like maybe I'll be playing the piano and doing like miming or something one day. I don't know.
I mean, that is
I have
great.
ideas.
I can tell that you're creative, and that's great because every time you step out as a different character, I can, like, I'm always looking forward to expecting something from you. So that's awesome as a performer, being able to be diverse and not just doing one particular thing all the time. That's amazing. And I guess like your family is also supportive, like your group of friends or group circle is also great.
Yeah.
So what would you say is your best performance so far since your debut, burlesque
Oh my
or
god.
drag?
I don't know. It's tough. It's tough because like the ones that I like maybe weren't my best. It's tough. I don't know. Like
You're too good.
I don't know.
So
Okay,
it's okay.
I would say the ranch number that I did at Next Fest for Smut Night this year that Eggs put on um was hands down one of the wildest numbers I've
Oh
ever
my
done.
god.
It was it was just messy from the beginning to the end. So what happens, I applied for Smut Night because they said the theme was F is for filth. I said I have a filthy number
Okay.
with involving ranch. Thanks to Bo Creep's show called Eat It Bitch, So I was like, work, let's just go there. And Eggs was so down for me to make a mess. They were literally like, I hope you're bringing it. And I was like, no, no. So that day I went and picked up 7 bottles of ranch. And then it was funny because like it was kind of like it was one of those productions where it was just messy, like they didn't really do a good cleanup of this like Pyrex like tarp plastic thing that they put down to protect the
Hmm.
stage. Um, Elixir went before me, and they had fake blood all over them, and it was so slippery, like they couldn't even
Oh
stand.
my
And they
god.
kind of just took a towel and like smeared it around. So when I came out on stage, I was like, I'm gonna have to be careful.
Right? So you
like
don't
like
trip.
I literally was like, and here I am. And oh, I think their name is Angelica, like the
Okay.
stagehand was like still putting on my props when my
Oh, I
music
think I
started.
remember
Like it
that.
was just so like it was just kind of one of those numbers. I was like, let's get into it, folks. And the theater was full, like it was packed. And I was like, okay, like really ham it up, Stretch. So then the phone call, I like walk around, and then all of a sudden the music starts for like the ranch pouring section. Like people are like, oh yeah. And then I started pouring it on my body,
Buddy.
and they were like, lost it. And then all of a sudden I go to like walk over, and I fucking fall so hard on my ass. Like I literally fucking legs right up, I'm down, I turn around, and on my face I'm just beaming. Like I'm smiling. I was having the best time. And then I like crawl over and I try to make up for it and do some floor work. And then I'm cocky and I try to stand again on this plastic.
Did you hurt yourself?
And I go, no, it didn't like really hurt. Like I was sore the next day, but I didn't have any like massive bruises or
Oh my
anything.
god. Like I
But
did
like,
two splits at the Altis and then I'm still recovering.
do you stretch before?
No.
Oh, you gotta do dynamic warm up. I should talk though, because yesterday I pulled my groin. So I like I definitely had time to stretch before this number, and I did. I do like dynamic warm ups where just like leg swings and m- like movements where I'm not just static stretching and standing
Yeah.
in like one spot. Because what happens is it's not warming up my muscles. It's like, in fact, it's just like tightening them up even more because I'm not doing a long enough stretch. But yeah, I fell twice during the number and basically had to stay on the floor the whole time. I poured ranch all over my hair. Like it went
I
through
think I saw something
it
like that on
went through like
Instagram.
the green suit, like that was like covering my whole
How many
body.
greens do you have?
I have two. I
So
one of
you
them
watch them.
so one of them I got from Steak. I borrowed for the very first time that I did the Grinch. Then I used it again for Mr. Cauliflower. And so I'm gonna take them
With
out for,
the
yeah. And I'm gonna and
Mushroom.
then it actually didn't stain ranch, so it's all good. The wig is like a little questionable still. I'm trying to wash it out because I actually really like it as a wig. I
Yeah.
don't know why I didn't decide to change a wig up for that, but I'm buying steak supper tomorrow
Oh,
to
nice.
thank
Okay.
them for the $20 green suit
Thank
that
you,
I've been
Steak. You made a
constant.
superstar.
Yeah, yeah.
What would you say is your least favorite performance? Oh wait, can we watch
That
it?
one is a lot easier. That one's on dough. Okay.
Really?
It's okay, so I had like not my first impersonation, but like a really wild idea that I curated with a few friends at work when I worked at the archives. And
Hmm.
they're like, what if you were like you went from like Malfoy, Lucius Malfoy into Dobby, and you free Dobby, and Dobby's the elf. And I was like, this is so funny. We were
Yeah.
howling about it at work and finding music. The two friends that I did the piece for never ended up coming to watch it. And I made literally hands down the worst mix of my life because the last audio that was supposed to be this big banger was so quiet you couldn't even hear it in any of the videos.
Oh.
And my nose prosthetic didn't stay on. The wig I wore at the beginning was messy. Like it is.
A lot was happening.
And no, okay, catch this. This is on the Sunday night review, and then and trust me, I was nowhere near the theme. Orpheus's theme was like bombshell babes, and I was like, trust me, Dobby is a bombshell. Like, and he was like, you go for it, Stretcher, do what you want. And I wish I had stuck to the fucking theme because it was so bad. Catch this. Thursday, Audrina Lynn has her show, and I sing Wonderwall live, and it was literally nominated for Stiletto, where I did my worst number I've ever done to my fucking Stiletto nomination performance. I was like, this is too
Yeah.
funny. And now Margaret Snatcher has Bestie Boots, which we were supposed to redo our Boots number, so our worst number. So I'm gonna be
Yeah.
Dobby again for redemption on July 16th.
Speaking of stilettos, how many do you have? Because I believe you won two or three this year.
I only have two because I only really started drag in late 2021 as
Oh,
Stretcher.
okay.
So I got nominated for choreo through Raspberries back in 2020 at the beginning. Yeah, the stilettos at the beginning of 2020 for best group number, which was this really fun choreo that I did to like the MILF song by Fergie. And then I came out as the milkman. Oh
Oh.
yeah, it was hot. It was so much fun. But so this was like kind of my first year beyond just having like one nomination. So yeah, and then I got two.
One nomination. And you won two of them.
Two, yeah, it was
So you
fun.
won best.
Okay, hold on. I won funniest, and then I won breakthrough.
Breakthrough, yeah. I
Yeah,
was about to say best new act, but I guess that's like the different category.
yeah.
So how was that like winning a breakthrough category?
That was fun. Yeah, I was really drunk that night, so
But your makeup was amazing. Like your
yeah.
cowboy outfit was just given. What inspired you to go orange that day?
I don't know where I maybe saw it. Again, probably Instagram, just like cowboy alien. I had been doing a couple alien
Oh
looks
yeah.
before that. I did the green one. And then I don't remember if I had done another I done a blue alien look at some point.
Really?
Yeah, and then I was like, what if I had this orange wig that I fixed up, and then I wanted to make new chaps, so it was like kind of a way to force myself to make a new cowboy outfit.
Yeah.
And then for simplicity, I was like, I wore an old bra and panty set that I'd had for a long time that had this like cheetah print on it and was super stoned. And then yeah, I guess I just painted myself
You just
orange.
look different every time I see you.
Well, it's funny because I don't think a lot of people knew how drunk I was because I had black contacts in, so it was kind of like
You're red.
I was just kind of like my face is all orange, so they can't really see like what's going on with
Yeah.
Stretcher. But Stretcher was
Just there.
he wasn't at the stilettos. He was there. His spirit was somewhere else.
But was physically
But I was
there.
physically there. So yeah.
So what's your thoughts about what's happening in the States with all this story time banning and everything?
What do I think about it?
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Right?
Like it's really dumb, and it's also like it's dumb because it's an art form.
Yeah.
But like the states, like places in the states and places in Canada and other countries around the world have always fought against certain art forms because they are like to queer or dominated by BIPOC individuals, dominated by trans individuals. Like it's a constant fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's never going to be over, because when white men came over, they created a colonial system that meant to oppress any bodies that weren't
No
white
way.
men, and that's it, and white women are complicit in it as well,
True.
because they've
Yeah.
taken advantage of that. And then you have years and centuries of like
Back and
perpetuating
forth.
like oppression against groups that want to express themselves. So it usually comes out in forms where it oppresses BIPOC individuals, trans individuals, and queer individuals. And so if we have an art form where all of us like to work in that shit, of course they're going to
You'll
go
want to
against it.
Yeah,
And
true.
so it's just, I find it like an extension of everything else that we see within Canada and within the States already, in our political systems, in our judicial systems, in our schools, like it's the same racism and transphobia, and homophobia that's existed since colonialism has arrived. So I'm like, it's sad to say, but I'm like not surprised,
Yeah.
but I'm also very disappointed, but I'm not surprised. And it's hard because like on an individual level, it's so difficult to actually make change, especially when you are not in a position of power,
Yeah,
which
to do
most of
that.
us here are not. And so I think like I'm grateful that we have a community where it is accepted, and we have sort of this bubble of Edmonton where we're not constantly getting harassed, maybe even as much as Calgary, because Calgary is a lot more conservative.
Really?
So we've seen a lot more. Yeah, there are a lot more protests in Calgary that are because of the conservative values that exist in Calgary compared to here. And I think that largely comes from oil and gas development,
Yeah.
which we see in Calgary. And like a center and a hub for that is within Calgary, where, white collared people, so richer individuals with more wealth and more connections to racist systems like the oil and gas system in Canada, live there. And then you have ranchers and farmers and people from rural areas who also have connections to Calgary, more so than Edmonton, which is more blue collar work.
True.
Yeah, that's like, we have a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of like freedom here to do and express ourselves in drag. So I'm happy that I'm a part of this bubble, so to
Yeah.
speak. But I understand and I view it as that, right? Like I know that in other places it's not that way. And even though we kind of live in like what is called the Texas of Canada, it's surprising that we're still like, it's almost surprising that we even have the ability to continue doing drag
Yeah.
here in the way that we do and on the scale that we do, with uh, a minister like Danielle Smith, who's like absolutely batshit fucking crazy.
It's that's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But yeah, let's talk about your upcoming show, your upcoming Stretchers
Strip and Slide 3.
Strip Inside 3.
Wetter, Wilder, and Weebier.
Yeah, Weeby's coming.
Weeby's
So
coming.
how did that come about?
It was Party Queens who reached out to me to ask if I wanted to do another edition of the Strip and Slide, and then offered to possibly have somebody
Out of
who's
town.
out of town, local, like I say local legend, a national legend.
Right.
Not a local legend. And
Okay, Stretcher.
yeah, we're like, I mean, everybody was local at one point,
Yeah,
right?
true.
So yeah, and then it came about. I think Gemma already had connections with
With that,
Weeby,
yeah.
so it was easy to like connect with them and bring them on. And especially after winning, like it's a good thing to have somebody who's like,
Famous.
yeah, like who's like, winner of a TV show. It's fucking epic. So what I did is I put in Pepper and Felicia Bonet, because they were
To
both,
make it,
well, they were
yeah.
both on the show as well, right? So I was like, here's a way for them to like connect with the show and connect with like, well, especially Pepper, who worked with Weeby. So I'm really excited for that. And then
That's great.
I have Ammonia.
It's actually a nice cast though.
Yeah, I have Ammonia, Margaret Thatcher, and Divinity of Angel in it. So it's gonna be fuck.
So who should we expect? Oh, we're expecting Stretcher, right?
Yeah, you'll get well, because this show is really like when I originally pitched it, I was like, I want something that's like summertime, sexy, like stupid. What Agata calls like the four S's of drag is like slutty, sexy, stupid, and silly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we should be expecting then.
Yeah. I like to use the four R's, which are raunchy, ridiculous, and
Rated?
what's that?
Rated?
Right.
R-rated?
R rated, yeah. Oh, but yeah, I think you'll definitely get stretcher, some tried and true stretcher kind of shit, a little bit of wetness for sure.
Okay.
Maybe some pie
A
filling.
lot of stains on the floor.
No, 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 no. Because
Just continue talking.
low
Yeah,
battery.
but I'm
Low battery. Yeah.
you have it on my first show. And I was like, okay, let me touch it. But I guess it just continues recording, right?
You're like trial and error here. Trial and error. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Where can we find you on social media?
You can find me as Stretcher Strawberry on Instagram. That's it. I'm a
No Facebook, honey.
oh yeah. Well, I don't really use it.
Right? Who
So
gives?
if you want to invite me to a party, you can find me on Facebook at Stretcher Hymen.
Well, great. It's great having you here. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank
and
you.
I can't wait to see your upcoming shows.
Oh, thank you, Gabii. I appreciate it.
You're welcome to see you guys next time. Have a good one.